I think this slide very much, I guess, comes back to the nub of the presentation really, which is what are the gaps in tech sector market intelligence as I see it. And I think it's obviously, I think we've just from the initial slides that I've presented, there's so many different elements to the tech industry and what they're looking for. Uh, and there are a lot of market intelligence providers out there trying to fill those gaps. But I think when I if I was engaging, if I was a buyer of market intelligence research coming from the other side, I would be demanding or looking for these sorts of capabilities on these slides because I think these 8 points here are very much overlooked in terms of a lot of the market intelligence firms. So I think if we start in the top right, I think markets can move really quickly, and industries can change based on new entrants to markets. So I would be looking at adjacent markets in particular to the ones I'm competing in and just monitoring some of the competitors in those markets. If I use a slightly different example, but it's technology related, would be how quickly and how impressive Chinese vendors have been in moving into the electric vehicle market in recent months. And that's caught a lot of the established automotive manufacturers off guard. I think a lot of market intelligence needs to get into, it needs that depth into regional nuances and regional trends. So you should be looking for information that isn't continental market sizes information. I think you really should be looking for information on specific markets, and I think good intelligence providers can provide that granularity in terms of data. Say, let's have a look at the Austrian and Swiss market rather than just the EU, for example. I think the other important thing with technology is it's a real value of technologies in it is understanding business processes. And I think technology trends by vertical market are definitely very important. A lot of tech vendors, understandably for reasons of scale, go to market horizontally. But I think technology, when it can solve those business problems, improve efficiencies, it can be really, really beneficial. I think the other thing with the tech sector is channel to market, and I think just understanding the channel to market ecosystem is very important. And I've got a good example of that shortly, where I'll go into that point more. I think sustainability and ethical considerations are definitely really important. Obviously, the change in US administration, perhaps not front and center there, but I think, or with certain elements of certain geographies, clearly, but I still think, the concerns around sustainability and ethics are definitely important. If you think about things like data centers and how much heat they generate, obviously the rollout of data centers, the cooling that's required, and the need for vendors to actually address some of those points. I think an analysis of that landscape, particularly by geography and different views and opinions, is definitely going to be key. As I touched on before, regulation can change quite quickly. If I use an example from consumer technology, I don't know how many UK folk are on the call here, or Australian, for example. But if you look at those two geographies, Australia's just had its ban on social media for under 16s, and that's being considered in the UK. So if were that to happen, that could have quite a big impact on the technology vendors that cater for those consumer markets as well. And then I think this, as Diana asked, or as I touched on earlier from Diana's question, this understanding customer sentiment, behavioural shifts, that ability to capture the latest trends, latest information, is really important. And that can be translated into the top point around, perhaps the most important of all, is just what's emerging, what's changing, what are the trends. And a really important term in the tech sector is disruption, what technologies could actually disrupt a sector. And we can, as I said before, with artificial intelligence, that could be the biggest disruptor that we see, all of us in our working lives. So that ability to actually analyze and interpret what's happening, um, both quantitatively, as in the market size and direction, but also qualitatively, is really important.